Around 1.8 million legal immigrants enter the U.S. every year, along with thousands or even millions more of illegal immigrants. This is just in the U.S. Around 134,000 people immigrated to Europe as well in search for a better life. The aspects of immigration affect globalization in both positive and negative ways. While most immigrants believe that moving from their home country will ensure that they will have a better life, a lot of them don't realize the risks they are putting themselves into. Many immigrants get exploited for their labor. They are put in strenuous living conditions and are left with a wage that is much less than what they should be receiving. An example of this takes place right here in Qatar. According to www.hrw.org, immigrant workers in Qatar are governed by an exploitative labor system that can leave them vulnerable to forced labor by trapping them in employment situations in which their rights to fair wage, overtime pay, adequate housing, freedom of movement, and access to justice are at risk. However, there are some benefits. Even though Westerners and Americans, including Trump, may complain about how immigrants are stealing their jobs, they don't realize that immigrants today play one of the most important roles in the American workforce. Even though around 17% of the workforce are immigrants, many industries rely greatly on immigrants and their work. According to Dan Kosten, a policy and advocacy assistant director for the Skill and Workforce Development, nearly one-fourth of construction workers in the industry are immigrants. About one-third of the immigrant workers don't have authorization to legally work in the U.S., even though they are vital to the American economy. As you can see in this chart, many immigrants occupy jobs that are not desirable and high income as other jobs American-born or European people may receive. Without immigration, there would not be enough willing people to take on these jobs and help develop the infrastructure and society America is today. This applies to more developed countries such as Europe and some parts of Asia. He is against immigration to the UK, Europe, and the US. He has shown this in his speeches and tweets. In one of the speeches he gave at Buckinghamshire, UK, he practically said that immigration was bad and was changing the culture of the country in a negative way. Racism and discrimination come from many Western people when it comes to immigrants and non-white people moving to their country in hopes of a better life. According to Dinesh Bugra and Matthew Becker, two psychiatrists from the UK and US, individuals who migrate experience multiple stresses that can impact their mental well-being, including loss of cultural norms, religious customs, and social support systems, adjustment to a new culture, and changes in identity and concept of self. While immigrants already have to struggle with being able to afford everyday needs, finding a job, creating a new life, and being a part of a community, they now have to struggle with the feeling of being unwanted by a part of the country's population. However, according to Joe McCarthy, a writer at globalcitizens.org, immigrants change the culture for the better by introducing new ideas, expertise, customs, cuisines, and art. Far from erasing the existing culture, they expand it. This is particularly evident in the U.S., where various races live together in mostly harmony. Without immigrants and people of different races living in the U.S., Europe, UK, etc., they wouldn't have been introduced to blue jeans, Google, tacos, Apple, hip-hop, and many other things that are familiar to U.S. citizens and many other Western people. So in conclusion, immigration's impact on globalization has been both negative and positive. While immigration can benefit host countries and create diverse cultures, there are downfalls that affect the economy of home countries and racism within the community. Nonetheless, immigrants are just people in search of a better life and should have the opportunity to do so.